What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Scratch Agency podcast, hosted by Scratch Agents for Scratch Agents. My name is Stephen Turnbull, founder of T5 Insurance Services in Utica, New York, and joined by my co-host, Mr. Sean Fitzgerald, founder of LAF Advisors in Long Island, New York. Sean, how are we doing today?
I am doing well, man. I just had a conversation with Mr. Hanley yesterday. We went down a wormhole of talking about AI and blog posts and mental health. It was a good discussion. But tell me what you got going on, because you just had your annual gala. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the Rotary Club of Utica, we had our second annual Service Above Self Gala. We raised $14,000 for the Utica Zoo, so it was a good
Nice.
success. Our second annual at the Stanley Theater, beautiful place that our guest today is familiar with, I'm sure, but had a nice venue and it was great. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Looking forward to next year. Planning's already starting for next year, so it's one of those events that we got to get on the calendar year round and plan. So it was a good event. I appreciate you bringing it up. But Sean, I'm very excited to have our next guest on the podcast. Been waiting for this one for a while. We are again cornering you with the Utica, New York pride here, backing you right into a corner down there in Long Island. But it is my honor to welcome Kristen Martin on the podcast today. And Kristen is the President and Chief Operating Officer of the Utica Mutual Insurance Company. Kristen, thank you very much for taking the time to join us on the Scratch Agency podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing well, and I'm excited to be here. So thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. So let's just start with your background in insurance. Let's walk through the journey of how you got to where you are today in insurance and how it all started.
All right. So I got to insurance just pretty much how most people, or 85% of people, get to insurance. You don't plan on insurance. Insurance somehow finds its way into your career path, and you fall in love with it, and you're pretty excited to be there. So I went to St. Lawrence University up in northern New York, and after that I went to Union Albany Law School, and I was a trial attorney, and I actually lived in Albany, New York, and really, really loved being a trial attorney until I had my first son. And then the hours and the travel didn't fit with the mom that I wanted to be, so I started looking around for something that I could use my law degree with that might have more stability and more regular hours and less travel. And at that time I was living in Albany, New York, and I always remember driving by Utica National. I was in the fourth grade, they actually used to do this Legal Eagles Club, and it happened at Utica National. So I had remembered being there, and my sister had actually worked there. So I reached out, found myself interviewing for a claims position. I went in claims, and then I moved pretty quickly to a staff attorney role, overseeing toxic tort asbestos type litigation. And from there, I became a leader, and then I went to compliance, and then I did a stint as the general auditor, was the head of underwriting operations, and the secretary for our board of directors, which was really interesting, and then found myself sitting where I am today as the chief operating officer. So it's been quite a journey, and insurance certainly gives you an opportunity to learn that it's a lot more than you think it is. There's so many aspects to this business that are so interesting and so exciting, and I hope it is something that more people coming out of school consider as a career, and we don't have to wait for them to, fall into it. They come right to us from college would be great.
Sure. I've got to derail for a second. You're not going to believe this if I tell you, but I was a legal eagle for the Clinton middle school. I mean,
There
so
you go.
I knew we had something. We
Right.
had something in common.
Yes.
I know we're both from Utica. We're both legal eagles. I don't know what else you got, Sean, but that's even.
No, that's a great story. And this industry, Stephen and I talk about it probably every other episode. Like, this is just such a great industry to be a part of, and that's something that, like, me being a part of the Big I Suffolk, that's like a big issue that we're trying to tackle, is like how to attract younger people into the industry, right? How to get them excited about it, what they should know about it. And what's funny is, like, we've done a few speaking engagements at colleges and stuff, and a lot of people don't know about the benefits of insurance. It's one of those industries where when you first bring it up, people kind of look at it and give it the side eye, like, ooh, it's almost like a used car salesman, right? Like, that's the initial vibe they get. But I feel like once you explain it to them, it's kind of like, oh, I didn't know that, and that there's a lot of opportunities. There's ways to help people in the industry, right? It's a great community of people. I mean, Stephen, another thing Stephen and I talk about, there's so many good people within this industry that want to help you, and they're actually cool people to be around, you know? So besides all that, Kristen, something we wanted to touch on that I think would bring value to scratch agents specifically is the appointment process with Utica National. What are some of the things that a newer agent, or maybe just an agent in general that wants to be appointed with Utica National, should look for and keep in mind when they approach a company like yours?
So we actually have grown in personal lines. So we actually have an appointment strategy recently where we'll have people who will appoint who want to be personal lines. And then, we have an agency plant that does both personal and commercial. So we have both available today. And we didn't in the past. In the past, it was an all or nothing affair, but now we do it that. What we're looking for true partners. That's the first thing with Utica National. We rely heavily on our agency partners. We consider them, our frontline underwriters, and we want to make sure it's a long-term partnership where we have paths together to grow profitably, whether that be in personal lines. What is the base of clients that you're looking to bring into your agency to have them be your customers? Does it fit with our underwriting appetite and what we're trying to do? And across commercial lines, we have a lot of different specialty markets, and we write small commercial and general middle market across a ton of SIC codes. But we also write schools. We write franchise auto dealers. We also are a big agents E&O market as well. So when we're looking for an agency and going through the appointment process, we just don't want to appoint a bunch of people on every street corner. We want to bring franchise value to our independent agents. So we want to be able to have that relationship and look out across, whether it's be 1, 3, or 5 years to determine how we're going to be able to profitably grow together and really have that relationship.
Do you think there's anything that's changed over the last couple of years of how Utica, or just if you guys as a general carrier, look at agencies when bringing on that partnership, especially all your years you've been with the company? Is there anything that you think that comes top of mind that's changed, whether it be just the adaptation of the new way of doing business or different things that you look at when you're looking at that partnership?
Well, yeah. I mean, when I look at the two of you, I get excited. I get excited that you've created your own agencies and you're probably true entrepreneurs. So that's pretty exciting to see that happen. I mean, there's been a lot of consolidation in the independent agent force. We obviously have an agency, kind of a segmentation on the different types of agencies we deal with. But I get pretty excited when I see startup small traditional agents popping up all over and seeing, it's great to have a wide breadth of agencies. You have the big guys, you have the networks, the aggregators, but it's great to see traditional independent agents too, because I think there's a place for all of us. And I think that the people that we sell insurance to like to have choices too, and they like to know the people that they're dealing with. So that's pretty exciting. One of the other things that we've noticed in, 5 years ago, maybe it's 7 now, independent agents, remember you guys were done. You were going to be taken over by everyone going direct and all of that stuff. Your disintermediation was the term that everyone was looking at. And carriers like Utica Mutual, we sat around and chuckled a little bit, knowing that was never going to happen. The traditional independent agent brings so much value to their customers as a trusted advisor, helping them decide to make what choices they need, what insurance and coverages they need. So that didn't happen. But what is happening a little bit that we see is the use of data by the independent agency plant. So when technology was going to be you being disrupted, instead the independent agent is doing some disruption of their own because the insurtechs have gone into the independent agency plant and brought them technology that helps you. And we now are adapting to the technology that you're bringing to your shops. So that's kind of been a big change. Hasn't been bad. It's been interesting. But I didn't see that one coming. I will tell you, it was going to be the other way.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting. We talk a lot about this on the podcast, and our listeners are mainly scratch agents who are in their first couple of years, or maybe people who are looking to start a scratch agency. And a little bit about my background, been in the industry for 7 years, just went on my own. And we talk about this all the time. One of the most amazing things is how many different ways you can do this, right? How many different
Yeah.
ways, and especially now with people just crafting niches and going after niches, or still having the generalist agency, but maybe doing it in a more digital way, or still on the street corner in the small town. It's just it's amazing how many different people we connect with kind of across the country through this podcast and other platforms. And it's like, man, you're doing it so much different than I'm doing it. There's no right way or wrong way. It's just different pieces of the puzzle that are doing it differently. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I would guess that you two probably have a lot of insight into how millennials and Gen Zers want to buy their insurance and how they want to interact with you and their carrier. So that'll be a really neat perspective for, the Scratch Agency group to really, you're going to be able to take that and probably hone in on it and do something pretty successful with it because they definitely want to interact differently than the Gen Xers or the baby boomers do. And if you can harness that, it'll certainly be something that's going to be really helpful to you in growing your agencies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And before I move on from the appointment process stuff, the one thing I wanted to bring up, which you mentioned, Kristen, is you mentioned profitable growth, right? And I think for scratch agents out there, it's important if you are approaching Utica or any company for that matter, discussing how you're going to be a profitable partner with that carrier. You kind of got to, just like you got to sell somebody on why they should use you for insurance, you have to sell insurance carriers on why they should partner with you. And one great way to do that is explain how you could be a profitable partner. Whether that's maybe you have a niche in schools, like Kristen just mentioned, or dealers, or whatever the case is. So I think that's a really good point you brought up that I just wanted to touch on. And I think another thing that you guys do really well with, Utica makes it feel like you are a true partner. And I say that because when I first got appointed with Utica, I've only been appointed with Utica maybe 6 months now, roughly, give or take. And I remember I got appointed, I got a handwritten card back. My marketing rep called me all happy and smiles and easy to talk to and never pressured to, hey, you got to write this amount of business today, calling me, every other week. What's going on? Why are the numbers here? Like, just it always gave a vibe of, I don't want to say a family, but it was more of like a, wow, this company really wants to work with me to make sure I'm in a better place. And I just wanted to commend you for that because I think that's a great thing that you guys have going on there.
Sean,
Yeah, I
let me just say
appreciate it.
something on that too, just real quickly. It's the same type of relationship that we're looking to have with our clients as well, right? And that's like that
Yes.
true partnership right there. Like when and I'm a Utica agent as well, so like while we're on the topic of, like you said, I remember the handwritten card and like, hey, welcome aboard. How can we find success together instead of, here's your code, we want this much business, have fun, good luck, let me, whatever. It's so interesting because a lot of things in our industry that we talk with are so relatable on the carrier side, on the agent side. Like those are still the experiences that we're trying to create for our clients, just as well as the carriers trying to create those experiences for us. I don't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to make that point.
No, it was good. I feel like our core values align, and that's an awesome feeling.
Yeah, you're
So
the future. I mean, you when I look around at the what you're doing and what you're helping others do, you know how this industry is tilted
yeah,
on the demographic. So all
yeah.
that you're doing are creating our sales force and our partners up tomorrow. So it's wonderful.
Thank you. So something I wanted to talk to you about too, because you mentioned InsurTech before, briefly. I've noticed. So I've been in the industry about 13 years now. I've noticed other carriers in the past, and I'm bringing this up because we're in like a harder market now, right? In the past, I've noticed carriers make knee-jerk reactions, and I say this in the sense of like a carrier is, hey, we got a new niche. It's in contractors. We're going to write contractors, and then 2 years later, they non-renew the whole book of contractors. We're going to write habitational, and then a year later, they get off all habitational. My experience with Utica is that you guys don't make knee-jerk reactions, which obviously is a good thing. But I'm curious, being, inside of the company, are you guys aware of this? And like, how do you avoid those types of knee-jerk reactions? Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. It's actually a great question. And if you had been with us, in certain parts of the country, 10 years ago, we did those things. We weren't perfect. We did make reactions and exit markets. I'm guessing by your question and by my experience, agents don't like that. They don't like me.
Yeah.
They don't like in and out. They don't like the changing. They don't like all those things. So, when we go into something, again, it's for a long-term partnership. And there are times where obviously you're going to have to get rid of business and you're going to have to do things like that. But our goal is to do them rarely.
Yeah.
And it would have to be for a very good reason, a regulatory change, something with our other partners. But it's like, so, we want to be a stable market. And that's what we work really hard to make sure that we're doing the underwriting side of the house careful so that we can be a stable market and not make those type of decisions and reactions.
Now, for those listeners that maybe listen, never been on the carrier side, right? What does it kind of look like when you're looking to go after a new market like that? I can imagine it's a lot of research, it's a lot of industry, research and different things. But from the standpoint of you guys saying, hey, we want to try, dip our feet into X market and make sure we're strong in that market if we're going to do that, just kind of like you said, what does that look like from your standpoint? How does that process kind of how to work?
Yeah, so, we'll start with, we want to go right X. Do we have the underwriting expertise currently in-house to do it? That's the number one thing, when you're only as great as your underwriters are, you like to say. So do we have the underwriting expertise to do it? That's the number one consideration. Assuming the products and the filings and the forms, all that works out, we can get all that done. The second consideration is, how do we get into that market? Who has that business? Are we currently a partner in some respect with them? If we aren't, that we need to look at that very closely. Second to underwriting is the agency plant. Who can we make a partnership with? Who brings that type of business to us? Who we can have a long-term relationship that's built around profitable growth with. So, you can go into market, but if you don't have the right agency partners, that is probably not going to be something you'll be successful for. And you may have what Sean was mentioning before, the go in and pull back. So you have to have the right partners to partner with.
And Kristen, I know you guys have I don't have a niche in this space, but maybe I should consider it one day. You guys seem to have like a specialized program geared towards schools and dealerships. Do you know what that process looked like when that was getting set up? Like, what I feel like schools is such a niche thing. How did you guys think to get into that space? And I mean, it seems like you've been doing it for a while.
We have been. We've been in schools for I think it's been over 50 years, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure how that came to be, but I will tell you the investments to maintain that spot and grow it. It's just always really understanding the risks for schools. There's a lot that goes into it. Our risk management is really strong there. That is a market that is constantly needing us to bring tools to schools to help them mitigate whatever might be happening. And I know you guys all read the papers. Schools are a pretty tough spot to be in right now. And so we just want our schools to be, we want our educators and students and everyone associated with the school to be in a safe environment, conducive to learning. And we just try to help bring those tools to the table to help administrators during a really tough time. Franchise auto dealers, that's been a really significant area of growth for us, that segment. That one is not open to everyone. That's we partner with agents that have an expertise in franchise auto dealers. That can be a tough one too. But when you get a niche like that, and you become really strong at it, the business kind of gravitates to you. When I look at the agency plant that we have there, everyone kind of comes to them. So when you guys and the other scratch agency people are looking at what that looks like, once you get it, you become skilled at it and you understand what it needs to, to bring that business into a carrier, but then to service it on the other end, you just become so good at it that everyone hears it's word of mouth on the street, and suddenly people are flocking to your agencies because they know that's what you do and you do it well, and you'll make their lives really easy.
Agents that are most successful at writing that niche piece of business, do you know like how they're generating the leads for that? Because I feel like it's so specialized. I mean, I would imagine it's a relationship thing, but I'm curious if you've noticed any trends.
It may start like that, Sean, but for people that are trying to get in it, my guess is, and I don't know that just for sure, but my guess is they start with affinity groups. They join a local whatever that has the niche that you want.
Makes
And
sense.
that's how they make the relationship. A lot, what's really funny is, and Stephen can probably talk to this, and he's local, so I know is, if you're sitting on the board of the United Way, or you're sitting on the Rotary board, or you're sitting on the school board, or you're sitting on any other, you're sitting there with other folks in the community. And that's where some of those relationships, I think, start from
Mm-hmm.
that drive your success.
Yeah. But and to that same point, Sean, I think you'd be surprised too, like in some, depending on what niches and stuff you're tackling. I mean, look at our friend Taylor Garcia in California with his garage niche he's
Yeah,
got
yeah.
there. He tackled it, he advertised it, but then he realized that they all kind of talk to each other. Who are you using for
Yep.
insurance, right? So if you're good enough where you like Kristen said, you know your stuff, you're providing value, and you have the great market and all of this stuff. Now they're talking to each other. Hey, I'm having a heck of a time with my insurance guy. Who are you using? And that's, I think he's found success with that. So,
Yeah.
One thing, Kristen, I want your opinion on, and there's no right or wrong answer here. We're in a hard market, rate increases, all this fun stuff that's going on, and there's a lot of chatter in kind of the agent groups that we're in of, oh man, this would be a tough time to be a scratch agent because you're going up some of these high rate increases. And then there's people on the other side that are saying, what a great time to be a scratch agent because everyone's shopping and this and that. And I think the people on the side that are saying what a tough time are maybe looking at it from maybe you only have 5 or so carriers, right? Maybe you don't have as much as some of the bigger guys do and different things. What's your thought, like, I guess currently generally on our market that we're at right now, but then from a scratch agency standpoint with the opportunity of where we're at today?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of shopping going on. I agree with that. People are getting a little bit of a sticker shock of what do you mean my, shoe store is going to cost 15% more. I'm going to the market to see if someone can do better for me. So I do think that's happening. At the same time, I know on the renewal front, everyone is probably trying to protect that book pretty closely, and doing what they can. And if you have the agency relationships, where you have a couple different big ones in your shop, can you do something about it? So, it's the best of times, it's the worst of times kind of scenario, and it is what you make of it. And again, being out in the communities and talking to communities that you live in probably give you the best opportunity because
Mm-hmm.
people don't like to spend money on insurance. So you might be standing at your local coffee shop and you run into someone, and next thing you know, you're handing out your card and you're getting the opportunity to quote something for somebody by happenstance. But it it's really a weird market right now, because of the economic conditions and knowing when the end is in sight. We've had other, ups and downs in the market. They come all the time. But the inflationary piece coupled with the labor market not showing any signs of weakness, that's driving a large part of loss costs right now. Things that used to, car repair used to be able to be done in 3 days for X, and now there's no labor and they can't find the parts, and suddenly it's taking 10 days, and that's just driving up costs everywhere. So, for people that are hungry, in the scratch agencies, there's probably a lot of opportunity to be had.
Especially the scratch agents that are so concentrated on value over price and have that into their processes and their agency. And what a better time to try to take care of somebody when they're upset because their auto went up 20% and then bring them in and show them the value that you're providing. And so, I mean, in my personal opinion, I think it's a fantastic time. I think it's a great opportunity, for just that reason alone.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think though, if you have a clientele, right, you're not brand new, you do need to have a defensive plan in place. Meaning, for instance, like I had a commercial client of mine reach out to me just for like a service request. This was like 4 months before the renewal. I decided, you know what? They reached out to me. I should reach back out to them and just give them a description of kind of what's going on in the marketplace. Hey, this is kind of what I'm seeing now, talking about the inflationary period we're in, Kristen. A lot of people that you have this conversation with about rates increasing are actually very open to having the conversation, A, and B, they understand it. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
they see it all over the news. They see prices of everything is going up. So the conversation doesn't go as bad as you think it would. Like some people are afraid to have that conversation, right? Because it could be you're always kind of nervous how the other party's going to react when you tell them that their rates might go up, right? But if you can explain it kind of the way Kristen did with, it's the inflationary period, the cost of labor is going up, the cost of materials are going up, all the catastrophes that have been going on the world in the last 12 months, people understand it and they appreciate it because, it's also making you seem more knowledgeable, right? And an expert in what you do. So I think those things, like having a defensive plan is super important. But like Steven said, I think you do need to be very aggressive. Somebody posted the other day, Steven, in the IAOA group, and they said, we're in a tough market. How do you think, I'm thinking about doing this marketing thing, but we're in like a kind of a weird time. And like my first thought process was, I've doubled down in this time. A lot. I would imagine 1 in 3 people are shopping their policies. Everyone's getting rate increases. A lot of agents aren't playing defense. I think now more than ever, there's a big opportunity out there for commercial and personal.
Well, and I want to correct your wording on that from defense to just communication. Just communicate with your clients about what's going on, right? I mean,
I think that's a better way to say it.
This is where we're at.
Yep.
This is where you're currently at. This is what we can do. This is what we can't do. And here's why. And it just comes down to just communication.
Yeah, and the commercial lines communication, again, Sean, as you had mentioned, those are business owners. They're seeing it in their own business. Forget about that,
You're right.
Right? They're seeing it every day in everything that they do. Personal lines gets a little tougher because, those folks can't pass the cost on. So it's eating into their household budget. So that's an area where I think that the conversations, the sooner you can be out ahead of it and be that trusted advisor and help walk them through it and, find ways maybe with different billing plans or something like that. So to help them finance during what probably might be a super tough time for folks right now.
Yeah, that's a great point. I never kind of looked at it that way. I appreciate you saying that. For the Kristen, for the folks that are listening, maybe they've just started their agency and they're in the thick of getting started. Over the years, the successful agents that you've worked with, that you've seen, and you've seen grow or just had continual success, what are some kind of key traits that come to mind when you think of those agents and why they have done so well over the years through different markets and different ways of doing business and kind of, gone through and just kept rising through all of it? What are some key traits that you can pull?
They are truly the trusted advisor, in my opinion. They understand all aspects of the business. They truly believe, claims is the time for them to shine and for the carrier to shine. They use risk management well, especially on the commercial side, commercial line side of the house. Risk management for us is, we want our mutual policyholder to know that we care about their business. We want to prevent that workplace injury. We don't want them to be in a situation where, they have to close down because of a fire or anything like that. So really leveraging those resources that the carriers will bring. The carriers have them. I'm sure that you have gone on the different carrier websites or portals that you work with and avail yourself of the risk management information that they have out there that you're bringing to the insured, that you're making the proposal, that you're going to a prospective client with all the information about what the relationship brings with you and with the carrier that you're doing business with. But, as I said when I started, independent agents are entrepreneurs by nature. So those that are hungry and really know the trusted advisor role are the ones that are ultimately successful. They're always looking at ways to streamline their own agencies. They're looking at ways to create, those relationships with their carrier partners that, they're always front and center. I call it shelf space. I want to be on your shelf. I want to take up more shelf space than any other carrier that you have. I'm not ever quiet about that. Like when you look out with a great piece of business, I want you looking past everybody else and honing in on us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kristen, I noticed, to touch on that, I noticed you're involved in some charity things. Have you noticed that the top agents too are very involved in their community and charities and things of that nature?
I have.
Yeah.
We always call this is a noble profession. People don't always see that. And, you make dreams come true. No, somebody could not buy a house without you. Okay. Without us. They just simply couldn't afford the risk of loss. They can't open a business without us. And people don't always view insurance like that, but they should. This is a noble profession that allows people to live their dreams. And a lot of people in this industry are some of the most giving people. I'll go to places and I see the same folks all the time. Whether they're sponsoring golf tournaments, they're helping build firehouses, they're there for the United Way, they're there for the community foundations, and it's really, it's what we do. So, the time when there's a loss, you don't really see it. People turn around being like, oh, this is our time to shine. That's how we look at it. Here we go, folks. Put on your capes and let's go out and start rebuilding some homes and lives.
Yeah.
And now, here, I always dislike when people ask me this question, so I apologize for asking it. But what does your day look like as the head of an insurance company? Like, what does the day-to-day look like for Kristen?
Yeah, so let's start with I've had to work really hard throughout my career to be organized. You'll see different personality types, and Rich Creedon, who is our CEO, we have completely different personality types, and we've had a lot of success together. And I like to think it's because we're completely different people. I have to work really hard to not chase after shiny keys because I'm one of those people. I love innovation. I love everything that goes along with that. So staying on the fundamentals, I start my day with, I do have a lot of meetings. So that happens, but as a COO, we set the strategy, we understand the execution under it. The COO is responsible. I have underwriting, I have claims, I have a lot of the business units. What's our day to day? What are the things that the teams need to do for us to be successful, to hit our goals? I will tell you, a large part of this role is developing leaders. And I try to spend time making sure that I help to develop the people that report to me and they're working on the people that report to them, and creating a culture where we all hold each other accountable, but we all understand that we're on the same team. So a lot of my day is around that. There's a lot of emails and meetings that go along with that, but I always try at the beginning of every month. I go through the strategy document, which might sound nerdy, and I go through the things that underline that strategy to make sure we're all still on task, because I can be a major culprit in getting us off task by wanting to do something that's not involved in the roadmap. I just got better at that within the last 3 years. I've really had to put guardrails around my enthusiasm for innovation, because it can take you off your course.
Yeah, talk to me about innovation. What kind of emerging trends do you see going on in the industry today?
There's a saying, I think it's the who has the data wins. So I'm always really interested in the data, and it's really funny. If I hadn't been a lawyer, being a data scientist would just be a great job too, because the data tells you so much, and it tells you stuff in ways that you would never expect things to be correlated. So
Yeah.
looking at data, finding ways to make things easier is really an important one for our customers and for the people that work at Utica National. Like, why are we doing those 15 steps? Like, do all 15 matter? Are they driving on what's important? How can I make it easier for a policyholder to find out about the status of a claim? That doesn't mean, they think about it at 9 o'clock at night, they call, we're not there. How can they just self-serve that, and providing that in the simplest form to both agents and customers, and streamlining processes? Everybody is focused on that right now. And, you want to say that you're focused on that because of an expense piece. Streamlining can be expensive, but you have to be focused on that because, the workforce is shrinking, and, so even if we get more people to go into insurance, it's on a smaller base. I mean, there's less kids. If you think about, there's people that at some point, we're going to have knowledge work. It really tied up because there's just going to be less people to do the work. So you always have to be thinking about what the workforce of tomorrow is going to look like, and how we're all going to get there. I mean, the competition for talent is brutal. It's you're going in like the gladiators did to like try to fight for talent right now, and it's been kind of crazy.
It's so funny because, again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but all of those things are just kind of like running an agency too. Like the shiny objects of, oh, this tool is going to really help me. Is it really going to help you, or is it going to be an interruption to what you're trying to do? And like it's Billy Williams is a coach that Sean and I work with, and he's just like, simplify it, simplify it, simplify it. This is the end result. These are the process to get there. And if you can add tools in there that make your job easier, great. Provide a better experience for your customer. Provide, in your case, a better experience for agents. Fantastic. But at the end of the day, how can you simplify it, make it easier for everybody involved? And man, the shiny object syndrome is certainly true on this side of the aisle. That's for sure.
Yeah, especially.
It looks so good. You're just seeing, you're like, oh, but it's a lot more complicated than that. And there's a lot of time that, you're just going to plug this in and this, what? No, that's not exactly, that's
Well,
not going to happen in any respect. There's so many more things that have to be done.
yeah, the tech companies do such a good job of, it's like, oh, we're looking at your data and we can tell you that you can pull $1 million in premium based off of how many policies you have with Utica, So it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. And it's always
yeah,
their
no,
APIs. I always love that. APIs sound so
yes.
simple. And then you
Oh
start
my God.
talking on our end, what is it going to connect for this API? And they're like, well, it's going to take 7,000 hours. I was like, what?
Yeah.
It was like, not simple at all. So yeah,
No,
that is a tough part of it, but it's always good to listen. But then there becomes a time where you have
sure.
to put that aside and say, no, we're going to focus on the fundamentals of our business, and this is what needs to be done, and we're going to get it done.
Couldn't agree more.
Absolutely. Well, as we look to wrap this up, but just one last question here: what's coming down the pipeline for Utica National? What are some maybe exciting things that are coming? What's new? Anything that you want to get out there to the listeners?
Sure. One of the things that's really exciting is we're going to have new proposals. Like I mentioned to you, our proposals are really going to help our agency plan. So I'm really excited about that. And they're going to be a functionality that they can use, customize, co-brand, and do all of that. So that's a big rollout fourth quarter. And we're also getting a new claim system. And we have needed a new claim system. Utica National is really proud of its claim service, but it's time that our claims people have a modern claim system. So we've just started down the build of that, and I'm very, very excited to get that out into the market. And that's about a 2-year build. So when you're building a new claim system, you kind of got to say, we're not going to do anything else. So we've got to get the proposals done, and then we're really going to focus on getting the claim system out because we think it's really going to help.
Awesome. Well, Kristen, I'm going to be respectful of your time and thank you very much for joining us. A lot of good value in there, a lot of good nuggets in there that I think scratch agents can really take some great value from. And on behalf of 2 Utica agents, we greatly appreciate that true partnership, because we're not going to mention any names, but we know there are some other carriers out there where it doesn't feel like it's a partnership all the time. And like I said, that partnership is what we strive for with our clients and is what we're looking for with that carrier relationship. And just like you said when we started, how can we grow together? And so it's really exciting to have that a part of my agency. And I can speak for Sean, I'm sure, on the same exact thing. So thank you very much for taking the time to join us, Kristen. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. And good luck to all of you, and good luck to all the scratch agencies that you're bringing along with you. This is great. Love to hear it.
Well, we appreciate it. Everybody, that's another episode of the Scratch Agency Podcast. Thank you for joining us. Do us a favor, like the show, share the show, and subscribe. Most importantly, remember to dig down deep, believe in yourself, in your own future. We'll see you next week. Take care.